One morning, drivers slammed their brakes to a halt at the sight of a ragged stray dog standing resolutely in the center of the street, gripping a tiny, blood-soaked pajama sleeve in its jaws. Its eyes shone with urgent panic as horns blared and crowds gathered. What on earth was this desperate messenger hiding? When police dared to follow the dog's trembling lead through grimy alleyways to a decaying house, the faint sound of a child's whimper cracked the silence. In that heart-stopping moment, we witnessed how a forsaken mutt risked everything to become the hero no one expected. The first reports came pouring in from frantic commuters who couldn't believe their eyes. One delivery driver swore the dog looked almost human in its desperation, as though it had rehearsed this rescue for days. A schoolteacher nearby described how she'd been about to cross the street when she noticed the little creature, its ribs protruding through matted fur, frozen in place with something crimson dangling from its mouth. Even seasoned taxi drivers, accustomed to witnessing the city's endless parade of emergencies, confessed they'd never seen anything like it. Everyone's attention was drawn to that solitary, trembling figure and to the tiny scrap of fabric that seemed to pulse with untold significance. When the first officer arrived, uniform, crisp but face paling, he approached cautiously, voice gentle and coaxing. He crouched at a respectful distance, speaking softly to the dog as though it might bolt with fear. The animal's jaw clenched around the sleeve, its eyes darting between the man and the highway of honking cars behind it. It was clear this was no random piece of trash. Its once colourful pajama print, now streaked with scarlet, matched the description of the 8-year-old boy who had vanished 2 days before. Families across the neighbourhood had plastered flyers to every telephone pole and bulletin board, praying for any glimmer of hope. In that sleeve's torn fibres lay the promise of a lead, a thread to follow out of darkness. Detective Sarah Monroe arrived moments later, her boots clicking on the pavement as she surveyed the scene. She was known for her unwavering calm under pressure, but she too felt a shiver at the sight of the bloodstained cloth. With a clipboard in one hand and a flashlight he'd requested tucked under her arm, she scanned the dog's stiff posture, the way it shifted its weight from one paw to the other, before finally nodding at her partner. They would follow. It was an unorthodox approach, but time was running out. Every passing hour made the possibility of finding the boy alive grow more precarious. Still, the detective trusted factors beyond logic sometimes yielded answers that meticulous plans could not. The dog, almost as if sensing the gravity of its discovery, turned and limped away. Police cruisers fell in behind, tyres crunching on gravel as they peeled off from the main road into a maze of narrow sun-bleached alleys. Every so often the animal would pause, ears alert, and look back to ensure its pursuers remained close. Each stop sent a ripple of urgency through the officers. They could almost feel the weight of the cloth's secret pressing on their minds. The dog's limp grew more pronounced with each block, its gait uneven, testament to some old injury or the rough life it had endured. Yet it pressed on unwavering. As the chase wound deeper into the forgotten quarters of the town, the surroundings shifted from faded storefronts to rusted fences and piles of discarded furniture. Trash-strewn lots became backdrop to the unfolding drama, a stray dog leading a team of law enforcers like a living compass. Those watching from windows dared to whisper of miracles of guardian spirits disguised in fur. The detective allowed herself a quiet prayer that they would not lose this fragile guide. Every turn felt like a turning point, every shadow a hidden danger. And then, as if the story had finally reached its climax, the dog halted in front of a decaying house whose paint peeled like old scabs and whose windows gaped hollow. For a moment, silence reigned, broken only by the distant hum of highway traffic. The dog barked once, low and urgent, pads scratching against the rotting wood of the front step. It wasn't a challenge or a threat, it was a summons. Detective Monroe felt her heart tighten in her chest as she stepped forward and pressed against the warped door, feeling it give under her weight. Inside, sunlight filtered through cracks in the slats, casting angular patterns on dusty floorboards. The air carried a stale chill that prickled her skin, as though the house itself held its breath. The dog slipped inside and vanished into the gloom, leaving the team to follow with caution. Minutes stretched like hours as they swept the main floor without finding any sign of life. Then the dog reappeared, its muzzle lowered, nose twitching as it nosed open a loose panel in the floor. The detective knelt beside it, fingers tracing the crack until she felt the give of aged nails. With a swift motion, the panel lifted, revealing a narrow staircase spiraling downward into darkness. Flashlights flickered on, casting long beams that danced across cobweb-draped walls. The faintest sound quivered up through the stairs, a child's whimper half stifled by fear and dehydration. The officers exchanged looks that said everything. They had come too far to turn back now. They descended as one, boots echoing on wood that seemed ready to collapse. The beam of a flashlight caught on swollen eyelids and dusty curls in the corner of a concrete basement. There he lay, the missing boy, wrists bound and trembling, eyes wide with disbelief that his makeshift plea had been seen. Bruises marred his arms, and a thin film of sweat coated his skin, but he was alive. As they untied him and swept him into the comforting arms of paramedics, the dog crawled down the steps after them. It stood over the boy like a sentinel, tail wagging feebly yet firmly, refusing to leave his side. In the bright sunshine outside, tears blurred onlookers' faces as the boy, now swaddled in blankets, reached out a trembling hand to the dog. He whispered something that only the animal could understand, a thank you woven from pure, unguarded relief. Medical staff gently cleaned the dog's wounds, discovering an old limp that told of survival through countless battles. That night, in a modest home not far from where the drama unfolded, the boy's family made their decision. They would adopt the dog, naming him Buddy, a fitting tribute to the bond that had saved a life. The crowd that gathered outside their home, neighbours, passers-by, even skeptics, brought flowers, treats and applause for the unlikely duo. In the days that followed, the story spread beyond city limits. News outlets ran footage of the dog and the boy walking side by side, each step a testament to trust forged under harrowing circumstances. Animal rescue groups saw a surge in volunteers and donations, determined to give forgotten strays a chance at heroism. Detective Monroe, once reticent about praise, found herself fielding interviews about a case that defied the usual parameters of crime and resolution. At the center of it all stood Buddy, his fur brushed and shining, eyes still holding that quiet vigilance that spoke of memories too painful to forget. When the boy finally found his voice, he described how fear had driven him to tear a piece of his pajama sleeve on a rusty pipe and push it through the floorboards. He spoke of praying that someone, anyone, would find that bloody signal. He never imagined it would be a stray dog guided by instinct and compassion. In sharing his story, he reminded the world that sometimes the smallest acts, a torn sleeve, a stray dog's loyalty, can ripple outward into miracles. Today, Buddy patrols his new home with the same protective intensity he showed on that fateful morning. Children greet him with gentle pats, neighbours stop by just to say hello. Yet beneath his gentle demeanour lies the heart of a guardian who once braved unimaginable danger to lead rescuers to a hidden child. His story lingers as a question. How many unsung heroes walk among us, unnoticed until the moment we need them most? Perhaps all it takes is a closer look and the courage to follow where they lead.